Hello, everyone. I am Tyler Caldwell, and with me is my good friend.
Juan Martinez from Joya de Nicaragua.
That's right. Not just from Joya de Nicaragua, the president of Joya de Nicaragua, the big wig, the man himself. We're very pleased to have Juan here with us today. And today, I want to talk about some cigars in your portfolio.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure. So right now, I am smoking the Cinco Decadas.
Yes.
What can you tell me about this cigar plus the Cinco line of everything else that's associated with it?
So Joya de Nicaragua is, we call it the original Nicaraguan cigar, the first factory to have been established since 1968. And as of today, we have four main families of cigars. We have our Obras Maestras, which is includes the Cinco Decadas. We're going to talk more about that. We have the Antano line, we have the Joya line, which is more of a contemporary lineup, and then the Classico line, which we're going to also talk about later on. So in the Obras Maestras, we have our commemorative or milestone cigars, I would call them. And the first one that we released was Cuatro Cinco, and all of them play with the numbers. Particularly Cuatro Cinco in Spanish means 4-5 or 45th anniversary of the brand. And Cinco Decadas means 5 decades in Spanish. And it was a cigar that we introduced as part of our 50-year celebrations of Joya de Nicaragua in 2018. And it's a very special and unique cigar because it uses tobaccos that we've aged for 10 years or more.
Wow.
And, you know, some people in the industry might say, you know, the cigars or the tobacco has been aged for decades, so on and so forth. This cigar in particular is legitimately the tobacco is aged because I know this for a fact. When I started in 2007 and 2008, one of the things that we did was start thinking about the future. Up to that date, we have never celebrated any achievement, any relevant milestone. My father, the owner of the company, was very humble in that sense. But we decided that we should start thinking about the future. And in 2008, we saved bales of tobacco. We signed the bales, and we asked our team not to touch that tobacco. And that tobacco, we saved it for 10 years when we introduced the line in 2018. Obviously, we then continue aging the tobacco. But that's special because not only celebrates, it commemorates the 50 years of Joya de Nicaragua as a company, but also of the Nicaraguan cigar industry. Because it was in 1968 that Joya de Nicaragua jump-started what is today the most beautiful and the most powerful producing country of cigars in the world, which is Nicaragua. So that's a commemoration of those 50 years of the company, of the country as a producer, and a testament to the love and the care of the Nicaraguan cigar makers. So that's Cinco Decadas. It's tobaccos that have been aged for 10 years. It makes it very, very unique smoke.
Okay. What can you tell me about the blend on the cigar?
Well, the blend, those tobaccos are quite special. It has, the wrapper is Nicaraguan. The fillers are undisclosed, but they're undisclosed not because we want to make it a mystery, but because we want to protect the integrity of the brand.
Sure.
But use Nicaraguan tobaccos. We are specialized in working with Nicaraguan tobacco. So it's basically a Nicaraguan puro, but it has its special origins inside of Nicaragua.
Okay.
And that will remain a mystery for now,
Dang.
but you have to know that it's a Nicaraguan puro.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
What I find interesting about the flavor profile of it is, you know, I would say this would be a full-bodied cigar, but more medium strength. But the flavor profile is a very like a red sweet wine with like black pepper, like
Yes.
touching in the background.
Yes.
And it's just incredibly, incredibly delicious. And I bet this would go really well with a good like red wine.
It does.
Also.
It goes well. It goes well with, you know, some deep flavors, heavy flavors, like deep espresso, like a good coffee or a good pure chocolate.
Okay.
Like the one I gave you earlier,
Yes,
like 80%, you know, 70-80%. That, you know, it covers your palate in that cocoa butter. It goes well with those type of. So it's more of an elegant, refined smoke. Not your typical everyday smoke, but something elegant, more refined that you'll spend your time contemplating.
Delicious.
Yeah.
So after this release, was this next, or was there?
Well, we had Numero Uno next after Cinco Decadas. Numero Uno is a special blend because we never intended it to be a successful blend. We actually never intended it to be a marketable brand, but it came to be because we had it as a event exclusive cigar in 2018. Coincidentally, when we were celebrating the 50th anniversary, we also had this special cigar that you couldn't get anywhere else. And it was a cigar that we had originally developed as a gift for the Nicaraguan government to give out as Nicaragua official cigar. So we blended it as thinking about, okay, the Nicaraguan government asks regularly for companies like rum companies or chocolate companies for gifts to take to their travels, to bring to the dignitaries, the Emperor of Japan or ambassadors and stuff like that. So we designed this blend to be able to give it to them, right? A cigar that was accessible for everybody, but it would reach the highest levels of government, of policy, of diplomacy. And we developed it in 2013, around 2012, 2013, as a gift. And when we turned 50 in 2008, we brought it to event as a special gift for people. This is a cigar you couldn't buy anywhere. So a renowned blogger came to one of those events and got the cigar and enjoyed it. And they named it the #1 cigar of the year, even though it was not accessible to the market. It was half feel. So because of that, we got a lot of requests, and we brought it out as a regular production. It's called Numero Uno. One, because it won #1, and secondly, because in the format, the size originally was named a #1 Vitola.
Okay.
Part of our original lineup of cigars. So that's a very, very interesting cigar to smoke. And a very successful one. It's one of our bestseller cigars.
Yeah, I know the Numero Uno is, for Smokingpipes, is very successful. I mean, it's almost hard for us to keep in stock. As soon as we get some in, we're already on the phone ordering more because we know it's going to be gone.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for those out there, Numero Uno, you got to check it out for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And then we also have Antano. Antano, that we don't have it with us right now, but the Antano is one of our legacy brands. It was introduced in the year 2000, and it was the first cigar to actually work specialty with Nicaraguan tobacco exclusively. Back then, early 2000s, Nicaraguan tobacco was not as known as it is today. Now almost every renowned cigar is either made in Nicaragua or uses Nicaraguan tobacco. But back in the early 2000s, the story was completely different. So my father with his team developed Antano as a pure Nicaraguan cigar, or Nicaraguan puro that we call it. Tobaccos from the same land, from the same plot of land in Estelí, Nicaragua, rich, intense, very rustic in the profile sense, right? Not very balanced on the edges, if you want. It's very rough on the edges. High intensity, full body, and full flavor. And that's one of our best-selling cigars in the United States because it was also the cigar that opened up the space for fuller-bodied cigars.
For sure.
For fuller-bodied cigar, fuller-bodied smokers that were looking for more intensity of flavor, of strength. That was the cigar that came. Now we have 4 expressions of the Antano. We have the original Antano. We have the Antano Gran Reserva, which is the same blend but aged 5 years. Generally, we age our tobaccos for 3 years. This one has more than 5 years of aging.
Okay.
We have the Darko Rojo, which is a super full-bodied cigar. Uses 2 leaves on ligero, which makes it a heavy smoke, non-operating heavy machinery after smoking that cigar. And then we have the Antano Sete, which is the lighter version of the Antano. Still full-bodied, but with a Connecticut shade wrapper. Yeah, and that's the Antano family. And last year we introduced back to the United States the original Nicaraguan cigar, which is called Joya de Nicaragua Classico. And that's been the original since 1968. It's a very special cigar because it's in the milder end, on the Connecticut, but it was the cigar that was the official cigar of the White House of the United States in the early 1970s. So during the Nixon administration, it was the cigar that was gifted to the official dignitaries when they visited the White House. for a country like ours, it's quite special to
Sure.
say that the product was so popular and so recognized that it was considered the official cigar of the White House in 1970s. That went until 1972, 1973, but still has that reputation and that name, and it's our best-selling brand outside of the United States, Europe, Latin America, and Asia. That's the cigar that they smoke, and that's the Joya de Nicaragua Classico.
And it's a phenomenal cigar. Over the years, I've learned to like a little more milder, creamier Connecticut style cigars. And what I like about that cigar, and a selling point of mine that I've always told customers, is when you're a kid and you walk into grandma's house,
Yeah.
and she just made like fresh baked cookies.
Yeah.
Like that is the flavor profile
Yeah.
to me. It's just a creamy, like an oatmeal sugar cookie, like profile to it. Absolutely incredible smoke.
That's a beautiful way of putting it, man. I appreciate that.
No problem.
It has a beautiful price-quality relationship. It's a everyday smoke for those that like flavor without too much strength.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So those are three cigars that we're very proud of.
Now, I would also like to add on to that. With the Classico, we have a newer version
Yes.
of it too, right?
Yes. So the Classico, the original Classico, or Classico Original if you want, is the lighter version. It has a Connecticut shade wrapper, but it always had a sibling which had the same blend with a Criollo, which is a Havana seed wrapper,
Okay.
which makes it a little bit fuller bodied, but still with the creaminess and the flavor that you like, but just a little bit more intense than
Sure.
the Connecticut shade. So
Sure.
both of them are available now in some stores that we call Club de Amigos. You guys are part of that, of course. So they're available here at Smokingpipes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we talked about the cigar that I'm smoking. Let's let the folks at home watching know a little bit about the special cigar that you're smoking.
Well, this is Cinco de Cinco, and this is our newest brand. It came out to the market last year in 2023. It is a special cigar. For every cigar that we make is special for some reason, but this one particularly has a nice story to it. So we were during the pandemic. We were in the middle of the pandemic, and as almost all of us that had an existential crisis because of the pandemic or during the pandemic, our company also had a lot of time to reflect. What is the future? There was a lot of uncertainty. Where is the cigar smokers going? What are they? What will the preferences be after this post-pandemic world, right? And one of the things that we did is, we came back and we started thinking and analyzing and talking more and more virtually with a lot of people. And we realized that up to a certain point, we have been very focused on our production, what we like, very product-centric, this is what we like, right? So we said, the reality is that we don't owe ourselves to us. We owe ourselves to the consumers.
Sure.
How can we work on something that pays tribute primarily to the cigar smokers out there? So over the past, between 2010 and 2020, before the pandemic, we had a program called Cigar Safari. Basically, you would go down to Nicaragua and you would spend some time with us, with Drew Estate. You spent 4 days in Nicaragua learning about tobacco, learning about blends, learning about cigar making. And as part of our tour, factory tour, we had a session that's called the blending session. So basically, it's an exercise for cigar consumers, media, distributors, retailers to learn about the blending process. So we put in front of you a big table with dozens of options of tobacco, and we let you play with that. Explore the tobaccos, try the tobaccos, and you create your own blend.
Very cool.
So as part of that activity, you end up being the creator, a master blender yourself. So we did that for a bit more than 10 years, and in total, we had around 2,500 visitors that did that part of the tour, which is the blending session. And as part of the session, you get your pack of 10 cigars, with your custom name, and you get a sheet, a certificate that says that these cigars were blended by you at Joya de Nicaragua and that they are authentic, right? And we get a copy of that. So as part of the developing this brand, we said, why don't we go back to what people wanted in their own blends? So we took those records, We actually got an algorithm like the ones you guys have, and we tabulated them, and we chose the blend that people wanted or gravitated towards most, right? We perfected it, we improved it, we blended it ourselves, but it was inspired by the most popular and desirable blend that people during those sessions got. And this is it. So this cigar is inspired on what people wanted. Retailers, distributors, the media, cigar media, and particularly cigar smokers.
That's
And
really
this
cool.
is a Mexican wrapper with Nicaraguan binder and Nicaraguan fillers as per the preferences of what people wanted. So
That's
this,
really
this
cool.
cigar, although we make it, is a creation of the people by the people.
That is a really cool project, man.
Yeah.
It's a great way to pay the homage back to the consumers who have spent, decades now supporting you.
Yes,
That's really
and,
awesome.
and the reality is that we owe ourselves to them.
Absolutely.
They are the ones who ultimately decide to walk into the shop, grab their card or their cash and pay your bills, our bills, and we owe ourselves to them. So we wanted to pay homage to them.
That's really awesome, man.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So that's Cinco de Cinco. And by the way, it's emerald green. So we discovered this in the process. We were celebrating 55 years. So emerald, which is a gem, we place also with jewel, which in Spanish is Joya, our name. But the emerald of the 55 years is the jewel of the 55 years is the emerald. So when you turn 55 years with your wife, you have to give her an emerald.
Oh,
So that's why we
let's hope I
play
make it that long.
yeah, that's why we play with the emerald green.
Very
in
cool.
the cigar.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Juan, it's been a pleasure
Thank you, Ty.
having you here. It's always fascinating to learn about cigars, which is my hobby. The folks at home, they love watching the content and learning about cigars as well. So everyone at home, thank you for watching. Go to smokingpipes.com, check out Joya de Nicaragua cigars, and let us know which one's your favorite.